What's up, everybody? It's Camo Gaming. This is going to be a review of Star Wars of the Old Republic beta. It's been an incredible game. It's been an incredible journey, and the game will be officially announced within a couple of days. In about early release will be about 8 days, 13 days if you were unable to pre-order it. There's been a ton of chat on the forums, and I want to kind of give you a no favoritism type of opinion about this game and what I feel are the issues, what I feel the benefits or the good parts, but also what I feel is the future of the Old Republic. And you can agree to disagree, but feel free to leave your comment below, as I'm interested in hearing what you say, and I'm interested actually to have some sort of debate actually online as well. Just to give you a background, everyone's been comparing Star Wars of the Old Republic to World of Warcraft. And quite frankly, Star Wars of the Old Republic is a basically mirror of World of Warcraft. The skills or the abilities, many are this exact same thing. It's pretty funny, as even the mechanics are the same. So they have rage, they have energy, they have some with like with energy, rage, sometimes mana, I think, but they just label it a different way with different effects. But you can see everything is pretty much identical. So you have like charge, you have stuns, you have the generic cookie cutter that WoW has built up. Everyone's been comparing Star Wars of the Old Republic to World of Warcraft, and they think Star Wars will destroy World of Warcraft. Let's just look back and see the numbers, pure numbers. World of Warcraft has 10 million users. So, and Star Wars of the Old Republic would have, I think right now at the pre-order it has 1 million, which isn't bad at all. They've mentioned themselves that if they hit 600,000 subscribers, they'll be profitable. So, Star Wars of the Old Republic may quite frankly never beat World of Warcraft. Even if World of Warcraft loses a couple million, which is still extremely hard. The 10 million that they have is still very loyal to them. It's been around that number for a very long time. So to see a huge dent in that is very difficult. But to see a huge increase from this game, that's also very unlikely as well. Nevertheless, they'll remain profitable. Nevertheless, they'll still be coming out with great stuff, great content. They are backed by BioWare, which is a very trusted brand. So I have no fear about Star Wars Old Republic there. But to say that they'll top World of Warcraft, especially with what Star Wars is trying to doing, which is just a reskin of the game, highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. But let me go ahead and cover some of the general topics of the two different games. But I want to focus more on obviously Star Wars: The Old Republic. First, let's start with story. The story is pretty good. I mean, obviously it has a Star Wars franchise back to it, so it has a very immersive. They have very immersive cinematics, great dialogues. However, one of the issues that I see is all of this takes a long time to develop. This is all these cinematics and stories great early on as you're leveling it, but then what happens if you're at level 50? What is your end game? Like, how do they continue to grow this game through patches? Do they need to keep making more cinematics? Are they just going to release dungeons? Because one of their core differentiators is the cinematics. So late game, I really wonder how they're going to do this, and also I wonder how long it'll take, because this game has been delayed for many years now, and it may be in fact due to the complexity of their cinematics, their storytelling, the ability to make choices. So that gets me a little worried about how frequently we can see patches, and if there's not a lot of patches, people will get very bored once they hit endgame and stop. The next is character selection. People think that the character selection is pretty lacking in Star Wars of the Old Republic. They say it's very generic. I think it's fine. For the most part, people are not going to really be able to see what you look like, from far away. Most people only look at your armor or your gear to see if you're a noob, or if you're a pro, or if you're a hardcore. So I think the actual looks of the body, the actual, if you're 2 times bigger than someone, it makes really no difference. So I don't think that's a big problem, and people are just going crazy about it for some odd reason. The next is leveling. Leveling is very easy in this game, because you're able to have a companion at about level 8, 9, or 10. So if you have, once you get your companion, things get much easier because now you're basically 2v1ing anything that you do. So it's kind of like you're in a group party the entire time. So you can have that extra DPS, you can have the extra tank, or you can have an extra healer running around with you as you're questing. However, what I've noticed later on after level 10, the worlds get very big, and you don't get access to like a land mount or a speeder until like level 25. So as you're traveling from one side to the other, it does take a while, and that could make the leveling process much slower as you're running around trying to do some quests. But nevertheless, the traveling is pretty easy because of the way that they have it built in. You have, if you play World of Warcraft, you have like a Hearthstone, but in this game you have like this portal that you can bind to any of the particular major locations, and you can teleport to those any of those locations. It's not like WoW where you're stuck with one place. This you can basically teleport to any as long as you binded it in the beginning. So that makes teleporting back very easy. But also the traveling is relatively easy as well. They made a generous amount of flying. I guess it's considered flying, but their taxi service is available all over the place. That's good. The next is PvP. PvP is pretty fun. It's a little bit different. I thoroughly enjoyed it while I was playing beta. However, based off of this, it very unlikely will have some sort of PvP competitive scene. So I doubt they'll ever institute anything like that. They may institute hopefully some sort of point-based system or ranking in the future, but right now it does not look like it. So right now all you're really going to be doing is PvPing for fun. There's not going to be any sort of reward or if you're rank 1 or anything to showboat there. You will have different gear, but you're not going to have rank 1 in your server, etc. Next is PvE. PvE is divided into two sections: flashpoints and operations. Flashpoints are basically dungeons. Operations are raids. Flashpoints are a little bit different. They're set up with a maximum of four people. Obviously, you have the same generic makeup. You have 2 DPS, 1 tank, 1 healer. But with the flashpoint, what's interesting is that you can actually use one of your companions if you're not, if you don't have a full group. So let's say you can even do it with 2 people. So let's say you had 2 people, you can have the other 2 companions, you and your partner's companion, be into the group, and then that's your 4-man party. So it just shows kind of how strong your companions are in order to basically replace someone. But that makes finding groups much easier. Operations, on the other hand, are also smaller. I believe off the top of my head, I think it's 16 or is it 24? I forget now. But it's a little bit smaller than the traditional 25, such as in World of Warcraft. But right now it looks like there's only 2 raids, so that kind of is to be determined of how that will progress and how difficult it is, as not many people have hit level 50 and done endgame. Now the next is server performance. Servers are great. One of the biggest issues with previous games, such as Age of Conan, that game was really hyped in the beginning, but everyone left because you just couldn't even get on your server. You couldn't even play without disconnecting or without lagging like crazy. So one of the most important things is the server stability. Getting connected, how long it takes, how long the queue is, the performance while you're in it, and no disconnects. Because you can have the greatest game in the world, but if you can't even stay connected, or if you can't even have a great user experience, the game is going to flop, and then people will talk about it all over the forums and cry about it all the time. So that's not what they want to do. But so far they've been doing a great job trying to get the server load perfectly right and trying to get as many users on as possible at a given time. And this finally kind of concludes Star Wars: The Old Republic. People are there's already so much talk about it. There's already so much crying on the forums, so much trolling. Star Wars: The Old Republic is fine for a $60 game. You will have a great time for the first month. I guarantee you that. I will definitely be playing for the first month. The issue is not, if you should make the initial purchase. Over 1 million I already have. Collector editions are sold out everywhere. The issue is, will this be worth a $15 monthly fee? That's my question that I quite frankly don't believe in right now, because I think that the patches will take a very long time, and I'm not sure of the history about where with their patches in regards to this, because this is really their first one, and so that's what makes me worried. That's what makes me a little bit concerned. So I would definitely play this for the first month. I would definitely enjoy this because I had a lot of fun in the beta. I'll have a lot of fun for the first month, but I'm just wondering, if I hit level 50, if there's no patches out, there's nothing else to do, the game will pretty much die. And that's how most MMOs fail. It's after that first month. That's the most difficult part. So I really hope Star Wars is really up to the challenge. Now, will Star Wars, defeat World of Warcraft? Will they beat World of Warcraft? No. Will they make a dent? Probably. But the issue now is, if Star Wars only lasts a month, people that play MMO are typically very into MMOs. So if they can't play Star Wars, they'll go back to an MMO that they played before. And usually, in many cases, is World of Warcraft. That happened with many other games, like Warhammer, Age of Conan, Aeon, Rift, all of that. People started and they talked about how hot it was, then they went back, and then until a new MMO came out, then they'll say that how hot that was, then they'll go back, because no other MMO can keep them like what World of Warcraft can, and with the kind of community World of Warcraft can, and the story, and the friends on it, that's what keeps people coming back to that game, even though it may be a very old game, but it's still the dominant player for a reason. Now, I want to make a quick point, because at the very end, I think there's only going to be one game that can really possibly make a dent, and that's Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is a game that completely changes up the MMO scene. There is no monthly fee. It's a very immersive game, very beautiful game. The only problem is there is no release date, there is no expected release date, and there's not even a public beta out. So, keep your fingers crossed, but that's a game that everyone's looking out for, but it's not in the near future. But for now, we have Star Wars: The Old Republic, how I like to call it, WoW Lightsaber Edition. Alright, leave your comments below, let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you taking the time to actually listen to this entire video. I know it's relatively long, but it has a lot of good information. Share with your friends, leave a comment below, like this video, and please do subscribe. I will be coming out with more content in the very near future. Thanks.